those trailers. Right on that side. The side you want to cap is on the other side. That part.
One of the things we
That
will.
part I'm going to show you.
Yep.
All right? And when you look at these trees, these trees look like they started there a couple of years ago. Those trees are there for quite a while. You put a rubber membrane down there, trees aren't going to grow. You're going to get grass. Trees are right there. I got a few more pictures here, but actually, I'll go to the part where there's a little pond out there. Right there. Little pond. Right out. If you look at it, there's the dump. Right, there's part A that you're looking at. That's in the shadow.
From the back.
Part, that's the back half of part A.
Yeah.
You folks want to look at all that stuff, yeah. You know? Let's pass that around. Hold on.
You want it back?
Well, it was out there, right near that little pond. That little fella.
Yellow spotted salamander.
You know what that is?
Yep. I have them in my yard.
Okay. So, anybody want to talk about these guys?
What is it?
It's a spotted salamander. They're endangered in Mass.
Okay.
I think they're a protected species.
Well, they're protected species. Okay, so now those are right in that little pond. Right in that little pond that I just pointed out. Again, I walk around out there. There's nothing hazardous out there. Trees are growing out there. What you want to do is you want to bring in dirty stuff from the city. You want to bring in dirty stuff, and you want to stack it up. Then you want to cover it with more dirty stuff. Then you want to cover it with a piece of rubber and hope that when it rains, the dirty stuff don't wash out into my yard. I really don't appreciate that, I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
If this guy can afford to generate the revenue to cap this dump using clean virgin material, then I think the state should take it over. The state should bear the cost and go after this guy for anything he owns right now, go after his assets. I think that's, for me, as an immediate abutter with health issues that are gonna definitely be, I'm gonna be affected by this. No ifs, ands, or buts. You can say that this stuff isn't gonna fly in the air. I'm telling you, I can smell that dump from my yard. I can smell it from my porch. The more you put in there, the more I'm gonna stink. Understand? I didn't build my house out in the middle of the woods to have somebody come in and bring the city back to me. I moved out, I told you this before, I told you this at another meeting. I moved out of the city to get away from that stuff. You told me then I didn't know what C&D material was, construction and demolition. You can't tell me there's gonna be no asbestos in there. Unless you guarantee me that you're gonna not permit a site that uses any asbestos at all, nothing. Can you do that?
I can tell you that the facilities that are going to be mixing it have people trained for asbestos inspectors. They are trained just like department staff is.
Right.
And they look, can I say that there's a guarantee that there will never, I can't guarantee
Okay.
that kind of activity.
When was the last time somebody went out there and did a water test on it? When was the last time somebody did go out there and test the soil?
The last time there was testing of groundwater was 2015.
Okay, and that you tested groundwater in parcel B in the back half?
We test the groundwater down gradient of parts of
Parcel
parcel
A.
B and A. You're getting right on the edge. It's hard to distinguish.
I know right where you tested. You tested when it went around the corner, it goes down into the little spot where the well is. I know.
That's why we need more wells.
All right, and I'm telling you right now, you need somebody to test the ground. Before you start filling it in, before you start covering it over, before you start trashing open land that Mother Nature has reclaimed. All right, you know, if there's nothing out there, then leave it alone. If there's something out there, make the guy that started it, cover it. It's his cost. I don't want to see a for-profit business open in my backyard. I really don't. I'm not being compensated for it. It costs me a lot of money to live where I live. I've been out there paying for a lot of years to live in the woods. I live around trees so I can breathe better. I certainly don't want somebody bringing a truckload of material, construction and demolition fines, cement that's gonna turn it to dust. Like I said, your guys aren't gonna put the cement down and cover it right over with dirt. That stuff's gotta dry. It's gotta set up.
Correct.
When it sets up, it's gonna get dusty. When the wind blows, where's it going? I can tell you right now, the prevailing winds go right to my porches.
What's the distance from your house to Phase B in the back?
Less than a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, I think
Again, I got pictures over here.
about
where-
1,500 feet, I think, was the closest.
I got pictures over here where you can see
Quarter
from the
mile.
power lines, you can see all of Part A.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just beyond those power lines in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
What you're proposing is gonna take down even more trees right there behind Part A to Part B, all the stuff that I got pictures of here. And you wanna level it out, and then you wanna flatten it, but then you wanna build it up into a big mound. Why?
We're not going to take any large growth trees. The only trees we're going to take down are going to be in the areas immediately around Phase B, which are in waste.
Trees are Mother Nature's filter. You know that, right?
Well, trees and animals that are in waste are not being protected. The contaminations, we need to get rid of the
So you're
contaminants.
gonna protect them by contaminating the soil more.
No, by
I don't get
capping
that.
it so it will not get into the
Okay.
environment
Well, then
again.
again, I go back to what I first said. It's about a for-profit business. I don't wanna see a for-profit business over there. When I bought my property,
Mm-hmm.
the people in here know when I bought my property, all right, I bought out in the middle of the woods. All right, I was told that dump was capped, it was done, it was over.
Phase A is capped and closed in accordance with the regs and certified. Phase B is not.
Okay, so now whose financial responsibility is that?
It is the owner and
Okay,
any
so-
previous owner operator that was out there.
There you go. Why don't we sit
Department
that,
looked at the liability and there's no money to do it.
sit that right back in his lap? Does he have assets?
We've evaluated all of that. We look at financial inability to pay, and unfortunately, I wish there was a
Has there been a sale
way.
of convenience? Has he passed stuff off to family members or any of that stuff? So his stuff in trust, is there?
We
is there a
use
sale of
our accountants and our attorneys, and we evaluate it as we do sites. If we can recover costs, that is our job. There is nothing, there's no other assets we can tap in this case.
Well, in that case, like I said, you know, for my benefit, I would rather you come in with virgin material. I don't care what it costs.
Then the landfill would not get capped. 140,000 yards of sand would cost a fortune.
Leave it alone, it's not bothering me.
Our regulations say it's my job to cap them.
Then cap it with
I-
virgin material.
I well, there's no way to economically do that.
Economics is not what I'm concerned with. mean,
Oh, I understand.
Again,
That-
if economics, you know, that's his business, it's not my business.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that, right?
Oh, no, I understand your concerns.
So you want to impact me no matter what.
There is no way that trucks, traffic, there's public welfare impacts will not occur. I'll agree. But what we will not allow
Why is it
is
occurring
the
at my
environment.
expense? Why is that occurring at my expense?
Because we have to get the material there. If we capped it with 140,000 yards of clean material, it would
Okay,
be
look me in the eye.
11,000 trucks.
Let me fix, look me in the eye when I'm speaking, please.
No, I was thinking of, it was 11,000
Usually,
trucks.
if you're telling the truth, you're looking somebody in the eye, you don't have to think about it. I'm telling you from the heart.
I have to think of facts.
I'm telling you from the heart.
I don't lie. I tell the
want-
truth, sir.
I don't want debris out there. You're gonna bring dirty stuff out there and stack it up in a big pile and then try to spray cement over it. Mr. Salvo already said, you know, you're gonna have an issue trying to spread the stuff. It's gotta dry. It's gonna get dusty. You still haven't addressed, as far as I'm concerned, you still haven't addressed the issues that I had before.
The corrective action design permit will have all the engineer plans. Everyone can comment and review on it. If they can't perform as they said, if they have dust, they will not operate.
Show me where they've done this one time before successfully.
This is not
So
been
I'm a
done
guinea
with
pig.
these materials.
I'm a guinea pig.
No, these are construction and demolition debris fines that we've done Marion and Stoughton closure. And the Marion closure, so it's that material went into that
You've
land.
done this with the recrete process?
Well, there we mixed it with contaminated soils. This
I'm
time we're
asking- I'm just
mixing
asking
it.
about the recrete stuff. I don't
No,
care about
no, we're mixing it with concrete.
this stuff you got coming.
6% concrete.
So it's all,
The stuff that you build everything with.
okay, so that's not the recrete stuff. That was.
No, it's construction and demolition debris fines and concrete. That's what we're proposing. Recrete is just a name.
Right, well, same name, so you just changed the name, semantics, right? So it's the same stuff that you proposed last time.
In 2000, this is the first time that this is a revised proposal based on that.
But I mean, it's the same material you bring in.
Yes, it is the same material, except we're not mixing it on site based on public comments, and we changed the truck routes, and those are the main concessions, plus some more mitigations to the communities, realizing that, you know, this is going to impact their roads.
Okay, and again, on paper, I understand you're saying it's a dump, and I get it, it's on paper. When was the last time you had boots on the ground, somebody go out there and test?
Tom, we'll have someone go out there and do it. I think he's giving you the answers. The only problem is, we don't have all the answers ourselves, but we need, I think it's perfectly clear what you're expecting from them.
You
My
expect no
suggestion would be that
Yeah,
have someone come out to your property and let them walk with you to see what you're looking at,
exactly.
so they have a clearer understanding about what you're talking about.
I've made that offer at the last meeting. Actually, Steve Howard stood in for me because I was down at the Brigham, but I made that offer before. I mean, I can walk around out there because it's easy to, I don't walk out in the street.
I
don't walk
understand,
the
and
road.
it's nice to, you have the land, but it is,
Well, it wasn't
it is
nice to
not-
have it. It was
I would not recommend you walk on the property.
a lot of work to get there, you understand?
Yep.
A lot of work to get there. And as far as I was concerned, for the past 15 years, I've been walking out there because as far as it was capped.
Phase A is B, Burn dumps have heavy metals. You don't want to be tracking that back.
Oh, there again, I don't see that. I mean, I see,
Can't
I
see
see
it.
lizards.
You can only
You know what I saw
test
out there
it.
last night? I saw 3 deer, I saw turkeys,
Yeah.
I saw a fox. That's what I see out there. I see owls. That's what I see out there. You know what I'm gonna see out there if you bring in the stuff and dump it? Nothing. I'm gonna see a
Short
big
term,
owl.
you're right. During construction, the animals, some of the animals will be
And they're not gonna come back. They're not gonna come back. I don't see any animals up on top of that dump. I don't see nothing. I don't see a fox, nothing up there. Nothing. You know why? Because there's nothing up there.
Can you perhaps arrange to have someone, I'm not suggesting you do it, but just someone go out there and,
Well, we walk the site, and when the
After
engineering
White
plans,
Palm, we
we've
do.
walked the site before. What we would do when the engineered plans come in, they tell us what they're proposing to do, where they're gonna put the silt bales, hay fences, where the wetlands are, where they are. We walk the site. That's what we do. We go along the site, and then during construction, if they get to that stage, we walk the site. If there are areas that are waste, that are scattered through the areas that need to be done, we're not gonna, do this 90%, we're gonna get it all. We're not gonna have that. If there's materials he's doing, activities he's not supposed to be doing, we'll deal with that too. But we will walk the site before we issue a decision. That is just our common practice. We have walked the site before. We'll check on they have an active gas collection system. I wanna see if it needs what repairs it needs. I'm sure it needs some. And we'll want to have those done. That's one of my things that I want to see. The monitoring well network will need some of the wells may need to be replaced or repaired. So we will walk the site. What I can't do is, I would just recommend, I can't authorize someone trespassing on someone else's property. And I don't want people walking on sites that are contaminated. That's,
When you cross the power lines, again, you're very unfamiliar with the area. Once you cross the power lines, you're in the woods. You're in woods. You're walking in woods.
other than Phase B, there's not a lot of other waste as it's been proposed to us outside that area, that 10 acres. But I have concerns that sometimes it's beyond that, and we want to look. So if there's additional waste, they'll test pit, they'll show us whether it's nothing or there, they'll test
I
it.
just think you're looking in the wrong area altogether. That whole area we are calling Phase B, and you're looking off, if you're looking from the back of the Phase A dump, you're looking off to the left-hand corner. We should be looking to the right-hand corner where this guy, again, he's got trailers stored, there's a bunch of old debris.
An old
back
gravel area he's got.
Well, it's not a
back there.
gravel area,
Well, that's what it used to be, right? In the
Well,
back right corner.
you got,
That's what and that's what, looking at the aerial photo.
it looks like an old junkyard.
Yeah, I think all that material will have to go.
All right, so that's the stuff you should be looking at. Again, like I said, the stuff that you're looking at coming in and capping, the stuff that's closest to me.
The stuff you want to cap, you can't see the contaminants.
Well, again, that's why if there's contaminants out there, I'd like somebody to do a test, show me there's contaminants out there. Right now, I just think you're out there trying to make money. I just think you're trying to help somebody make a bunch of money.
We're trying to, the main difference between this proposal and the other proposals, I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't think it didn't meet our policy, we wouldn't let it go to the next stage, which was take it to public meeting back in 2004, public information session. We wouldn't let it do that. Our job is to make sure that it's done with the minimum amount of impacts on the community. The proposals in the past, over 1 million tons, 50,000 trucks. We're down to now 230,000 tons and 6,000, 600 trucks. We're trying to get it as low as we can get, but I'll admit there's no way I can say that there aren't going to be some impacts. I agree, but the impacts won't be contamination from this material impacting you. That won't happen.
What do you foresee my impacts being?
Some traffic, probably 15 to 18 trucks. It's about 2% of the traffic on Union Street. Every other road, it's less than 1% given the current traffic load. So most people aren't going to notice it. Union Road will notice it the most. It's about 2.5% of the traffic that's going on it based on the study we've seen. That would be the most impact. In the end, it'll be capped and closed. Hopefully someone does solar, generates some revenue for tax base maybe for this, takes something that's has little use and maybe comes down the road. Right now, it's got no use on it. The gas collection system is just burning the gas off. There's not enough to generate any more revenue to pay for anything. That's what it was doing in the past, paying for the post-closure monitoring maintenance. and hopefully we can get this so that it doesn't impact anyone in the future.
But you talked about this before, that you don't even allow a dump unless you're sure that somebody has the funds to cap it. What happened with this? Somebody dropped the ball?
This one, the regulations changed in 1991, and Phase B was always supposed to be a new landfill. With our regulation changes, before then, you didn't necessarily have to have what you call financial assurance or a bond. When the regulations changed, this site was preparing to go forward. It never did. It got Phase A capped, that the site, the 32 acres, it had enough money. It did not have enough money for Phase B.
So
Phase B operated in the 40s to 75. There were no requirements for any bonds, unfortunately. Now, unless the bond's in place, you can't start a landfill. You can't take anything in unless the bond's
So how do you know exactly what's in there is my question, because I've been told by other people, and actually Heather Graff was one of the people that told me that there's potentially stuff from Texas Instruments that was buried down there, which is hazardous material, which would be
radioactive material.
radioactive material.
I've looked at the ship pack data.
Are your people qualified to clean that out? Are they qualified to be on that site and capping it?
Well, we would determine, and they have evaluated
But nobody's
that
done that. That's
location.
what I'm asking you. Nobody's been out there. Nobody's boots on the ground out there. Nobody. That's what I'm asking you.
Tom, I'm not sure, I don't want to prolong this because it's
No, no, I'm
getting,
just-
well, your point has been made and we get it, okay? We understand, but,
I mean, he's talking in circles, though, he's telling me.
wait, no, the point, I'm not hearing it that way. The point, I think, we get what you're talking about. We get it. When you start talking about waste dumps, you've got two others on Maple Street you should be more concerned about.
Well, they got the hazard, got the.
We have no control over those, and we,
Down from me, number
I'm
four.
telling you, you got other problems in that area you probably should be more concerned about than this one.
Well, I know, they got the place right there with the needles. It's number 4, there's monitoring wells.
Point of the
there.
matter is,
There.
these guys are gonna go in there and do the best job they can. It's gonna get capped. There's no way we're gonna get around that. And
Again-
personally, I would rather have it capped than know what's in there.
I don't have a problem having it capped if they come in and use virgin material.
What,
Again, they're
he's
bringing in-
telling you, it's gonna cost all of us a lot of money to do that. And when they're done with it, it's gonna be a mountain bigger than what you're talking about now. It's gonna be a heck of a lot bigger than it is.
If he's gonna,
And
if,
one of the, let me
it's only
finish,
gonna be
let me
30
finish.
feet.
One of the concerns we've been hearing about is the lower profile. And that's what we've been negotiating for years, is to get that thing down so it doesn't look like,
Well, that's what I mean, if it's only
Mount
gonna be 30
Norton in
feet,
the
what
back-
difference does it
in
make
your
whether it's
backyard.
construction and demolition material or whether it's virgin ground?
The reason is it can't be done with natural material because it's a lot more expensive. And for that to be done and to justify the cost, it can't be done. And so that's why they're using the recrete material, because it can be lower, it won't be as high.
Maybe I wouldn't care so much if I didn't live right next to it, you know what I mean?
And
You follow me?
just,
we get it, but you're living next to a landfill. We gotta do something about it.
Right, but I
We
mean,
gotta fix
but
it.
why bring more dirt? I mean, like I said, again, 15 years.
Because they're trying to fix it.
15 years, nobody's done anything to it. 15 years, it's been
Well, it's
okay
because
to
we've been
walk on.
negotiating, Tom, for 15 years to get something
Got a
that's more
consent
attractive.
order for 13 years in court appeal. It's the longest appeal I have.
But yet, I think you need to understand, Tom, that the city of Attleboro and the town of Norton are not going to be able to stop this. The DEP has mandated this facility be covered,
And
and
again-
we've negotiated the best we can to get what we're going to get.
I mean, again, all I can say is, like I said, I went out of my way to, you know where I bought. I bought out in the woods. People know where I live. I mean, I bought there for a specific reason. Now,
One
You
thing
know,
we will do.
15 years
we
later-
will not take trees
a private entity can come
down
in
that we don't need to.
and
take
bring
down.
dirt in my backyard, can bring construction and demolition material into my backyard, dump it there, then cover it with concrete and say it's on. That's what you get.
Well,
Thanks for your money.
Norton,
Thanks for your tax money.
Norton is all about in our backyard. That's the way I look at it. Anything that happens in Norton, I'm concerned about.
I know, but-
I'm not concerned about this. We have to do it. It
Again,
has to get done.
And I don't have a problem with it being done. My issue is maybe the way it's being done, or that it's a for-profit thing. that they're gonna
And
be-
by the way, I was dealing with this before you even moved up there.
There you go.
You know, I have a long history with this landfill, with the SPAC. Been around here, I've been doing selectmen stuff for 23 years. And I got to tell you, based on the negotiation and all the time we've spent on this, this is going to be the best solution we can offer, because it's the only one we got. And we don't have the ability to go out, we're scratching for money right now to figure out how to pay our budgets.
Well, again,
We're not going to have the
we're
money
talking
to do it
about
right.
the town of Norton covering the cost, the town of Attleboro covering the cost. It would be the state covering the cost. It wouldn't just be these two towns. It would be the
State
state.
has to pick and choose where it spends its money. And
But the
this
state-
is not an imminent threat. We have this policy that lets us do these ones that are landfills that really operated in.
It's not an imminent threat. You said it.
No, but they still has to be capped.
And I don't have a problem with that. But I don't want, again,
The imminent threat has been sitting, I mean, the not imminent threat has been sitting there since 1975.
it's not an imminent
It needs to
threat.
be done.
And again, the only way this is gonna get capped if there's a for-profit business back there to cap it.
We try to minimize the amount. We don't let it go to large volumes we don't allow large profits. But we don't,
Somebody's gonna
people
make a
don't do
profit.
it out of the kindness of their heart. They make money. It's
Right.
5 to 10% is
Okay.
what we expect.
So you're letting somebody come in, this guy ran a dump for X amount of years. I don't have the money to cap it. Start a business so we can cap it. Don't worry about the neighbors. Start a business so we can cap it.
It's our job to worry about the neighbors. And we are concerned about the neighbors, and that's why we're here. And that's why we have the public comments, and that's why if you have, for example, if you're in a butter and you have a tree line, we don't want them to take any trees down that they don't have to. Some will have to come down, but if you have a concern in a particular area that you think might impact you visually, then you flag it for us and we'll take it into consideration, and because we don't want to take trees down that we don't need to. But there are some areas where the landfill is, everything in there is contaminated. The trees, the animals, everything. We don't want them, we want them to have an environment that's clean, not an
The deer that
environment
walk-
walking around in the lead.
Tom, please, I don't want,
Again, I mean,
I appreciate your comments.
But
and
you're
I
looking
think
at the
you've made
space
your
of
point.
150, 200 yards. The deer that walk over there, the snakes that slide back and forth, they slide from my yard to that place.
Let me
Contamination,
let,
they're riding right back in.
Tom, let me, Mr. Eunice has something to say.
There's going to be a 21-day period that you can address your comments to the DEP, correct? Once this proposal comes
Correct.
forward. And if you're a direct abutter, you will have to file a notice of intent with the city of Attleboro, and you'll receive notice, and you can attend the meeting at the city of Attleboro and give your comments there.
You want to say something? Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Millie Garcia Serrano. I serve as a regional director in Southeast Region. We really appreciate the opportunity for us to be here tonight. We have a big decision that needs to basically take place here. As you can tell, I'm new to this role. I've only been a regional director for 2 years, but I can tell you I've been with DEP since 1998 under the 21E program. I think at this juncture, it's extremely important that we decide what to do with this landfill. I really appreciate the conversation we're having because it's extremely crucial that we work with all parties that will be affected. I don't want to undermine the need by way of saying there are no imminent threats. The imminent threat lingo is really a regulatory artifact of just regulations and how they define an imminent threat. Nonetheless, it's equally as important for us to take care of this problem that's been lingering for a very, very long time. With the passage of time, we have no assurances that we will have a party to perform the response actions that are truly necessary here. The party walks away, the department's responsibility is to look for the next person in line to pay for this. And so we have done a very exhaustive research of all the potential responsible parties. There's very little people, opportunities, and lineage associated with the next person in line. So I'm just compelling everybody here to really think about the questions. We will have a very robust opportunity for a 21-day comment. If it warrants extension, we will certainly consider that. But on behalf of Mass DEP, I just implore you to take a look at the data. There are a lot of things we don't know, a lot of things we need to know. We appreciate the input, Selectmen. We really appreciate it. And we thank you for being here. We stand ready to answer any questions. I do want to clarify, we are not actually the project executor. We're only the permitting agency. If you find it helpful to have the party who is actually performing the response actions on behalf of the PRP, certainly we can ensure that that message is delivered first thing in the morning. Any questions can be directed to the parties that intend to implement the work. If we can get advanced copies of any additional information that will help not only Norton, it's really Attleboro too. It's sister communities trying to put their heads together. We have been through traffic committees to try to really put some hard thinking behind the traffic, ensure that there are safety issues that are addressed by way of children, working with the school schedules, et cetera, trying to bypass any high traffic spots. All those things have really been looked into, and it's with our best hope that we come to you. We do have an opportunity at this moment. It's been a long time, and I don't know if we'll have an opportunity in the future to execute the work that really needs to happen. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and rest assured that Mass DEP will answer any and all questions. And some questions we can't answer, mainly because it's not really, we won't be behind the wheels of New Bedford Waste or any other company that's involved. We're basically responsible for doing the best we can to permit something that is commensurate with the regulations and the policies applicable. Thank you.
I have the utmost confidence in the DEP and what they're going to do here. We've been talking about this for as long as I've been around. I was in the Finance Committee before Selectmen. We were talking about it way back then. We talked about SPAC for years. Finally, we got $10 million from the federal government to clean the damn thing up. It was a mess. It was out of control. We had no idea what was in there either. And this here, in my opinion, is just another extension of that, and it has to get done. The reason we asked you folks to come in here tonight was just basically to give us an update. You addressed a lot of the concerns we've had over the years. At one time, all the traffic was coming through Norton, both in and out. At least, a lot of things have changed along the way. And whether we like it or not, that's a whole, I have a real issue. I'm totally with Tom on the issue of anybody making any kind of money on this other than us. But unfortunately, I'm not sure how that's all going to work. I am kind of concerned and curious, and I'll ask the town manager, look into those storage facilities down there and what they're using those for. If we're going to be spending money to put a cap on something, I don't want them bringing in stuff onto the property. So I think we need to find out what that's all about. But I think most and foremost, I want to assure you, and I appreciate you guys both coming tonight, we're here just to get an update. Sure. And my personal opinion is we pretty much pushed this to the wall. I don't know what else we can do. So I want to thank you both for coming, but Mary, do you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also appreciate you guys coming in and also you, Tom, coming. And I know a lot of people have put a lot of work into this project. And I do hope that, I know the problem has to be solved, and I hope that in some way Tom's concerns are really listened to, and if there's any way that there can be some concessions made, because he is the guy living right next door to it. So I think that's an important thing. And this was a great overview. I really appreciate the effort you put into it. And you may have mentioned it in there, but there's one question I have. The person who owns the land, he still owns the land?
It's a corporation owns it.
A corporation owns it, but they can't afford to fix it.
We've looked at their assets, and they don't have the assets to do this.
Okay, so that part is very clear to me. So what's not clear to me is, they still own it? Or will...
Yes, they own it.
We can't... I don't understand if we're...
Well, there's...
I don't know if we want to take it.
Right now.
Oh, right, okay.
You
so I
own it, you
understand
have
that.
liability.
Yeah, right, okay, so I get that part of it, but what Tom said about them using that property to still make a profit, if we make them keep it, can there not be some sort of restrictions put on that nothing can happen on that property? I understand why we wouldn't want to own a toxic site, but...
One thing that is on the property, that site assign in the cap, they can't do anything out there without department approval. So they can't build anything on the cap. They can't use that site assigned parcel without department approval.
And can there...
So that anything that would affect the cap or compromise the integrity of the system, that the department can do.
And I understand that you're just the permitting process, and not just, you've done a lot of work on this. Having to go to you for approval is good, but it doesn't prevent them from making money.
No,
and I don't understand why
prevent them.
We can't put a lien on that, that if there's any profit coming off of that it has to go back to the town. It just seems odd to me.
I think the response to comments, there's discussion about future profits for the site, especially if solar happens. There's discussions in there.
Okay.
Since when that document becomes public, and I think that should be something that you can do.
If that's something in the 21 days, I could make that concern?
Because it's not all this does, it says it can go to the next step. The next step is permitting. It's a fine line between what the department is not expending funds on this. If we expend funds, then we recover them. We can't tell, it becomes very difficult for the department to get into a really difficult situation in terms of when we can interfere with commerce or someone's ability. But to the extent that we get the 30 years of monitoring and maintenance for that is our primary concern, and that we know if anything else needs to be addressed, impacted wetlands, surface water. We want to know that. That is our primary. We're an environmental agency, not necessarily money, but we do look at that, and we have this financial people who go through, and this is what their job is. They look in to find, all right, where are all the assets? Is there any assets we can take? Do they truly have no ability to pay? A lot of people claim it, but we go through a process and determine it. They have to give us everything. We've done that. And we can't legally go any further.
Yeah, and I don't think there's ever a question in all our review that the money wasn't there to cap it. That question never came up. And I think you're hearing it from other board members here tonight too, that I don't care that they can't pay for it. I care that they make money on it later.
No, I understand.
You know, and if you guys have a 30-year opportunity to kind of keep an eye on it, and you know, if any profits are made, maybe you can, you know, do additional testing and all that kind of stuff. That's where the money should be going. It shouldn't be, you know, for the next generation to reap any kind of benefits from solar farms or whatever might go on the property. And also, once we clean it up, I'm concerned about the containers that are out there on the ground now. Once we collectively clean this thing up, what we don't need is someone out there doing something again.
No, we agree.
You know, and we got to make sure that's under some kind of control too, so we don't have to worry about that happening. You know, suddenly they go out there and they go into the oil changing business and start dropping it on the ground. I mean, who knows what they can do, but we need to be aware of, and while it's under construction, obviously nothing's going to be happening because there's going to be a bunch of people around doing a lot of watching, but after that, it could be
There's
interesting.
a lot of sites, we do inspect these. Our biggest thing is really looking at new development, quite frankly, is our biggest concern around these old sites. And we look for that on aerial photos and working with communities, telling us, most communities, Board of Health, planning dorms, telling us, there's a development near a landfill. Thank you, you should be aware of it, and that's what we want to do. That's our biggest concern, but I understand about future profits, and I think the conceptual plan does address that. And I think that's the best way is for people to see it and talk about that and see that commitment. But the department itself doesn't necessarily control all the aspects to the detail that people would like. We don't have the regulatory authority to do so.
Mr. Steele?
Just a quick question. I totally understand what you're saying, and I also totally understand that you're limited in that capacity, you know, obviously. So, Mr. Chairman, from our point of view, I would think it would be a concern of Norton and Attleboro to look into it a little bit further. There's got to be some way that we can put something in writing, whether through legal or whatever. I mean, they are basically saving this company's butt by coming in here and doing it, right?
Right.
Why can't we have some sort of agreement? And I'm sorry to waste your time because it's separate from them, but that they agree that there won't be any future profits made on this land, or if there is, the money's going to go back to restitution to the towns that saved them. I don't know if I'm off track here.
No, you're not. No.
It just you talk about corporate irresponsibility. You know, never mind, you know, if there have been health issues created by this whole mess. And then the corporation that did it, the mess gets cleaned up and nobody's here to regulate it because it's not their responsibility to do it, and then they're in the middle of two towns. Like, I feel like if we could address this problem before we agree to anything.
Maybe one thing we could suggest to the city of Attleboro is that two Board of Health agents work as our agents together in cooperation to continue to monitor and watch, you know, to watch the process over there. You know, I'm not suggesting we create another committee, but maybe we have some kind of a working group that can keep an eye on this thing. As far as for profit, I mean, I remember talking to ex-Mayor Dumas over there about, I don't care if you guys put solar panels on, as long as you guys get the money for it. I don't want them getting the money for it. You know, I think that's been a sticking point all these years, is just knowing that they made their money and they suddenly didn't have any money left, and now everyone else is scrambling to take care of it. So maybe, Mike, you could talk to the mayor, maybe we can come up with some kind of a
Some sort of
plan where,
agreement. I mean, even if,
I mean, I know they're monitoring and they're watching, maybe we could have our
but
own people
legally,
do the same.
they're restricting what they can do. And once this is done, legally, we can't do anything about it. So it's almost like we have to have a conversation prior, and I know I know you've done so much work on this, and I'm coming in at the 11th hour, but there's got to be some sort of legal agreement with them. And, you know, they're not in any position, we can't really force them into it, but
Well, we could take a look at legal action also, above and beyond what these guys are
Yeah.
doing, you know.
We're not going to have very much standing, considering it's all in Attleboro, though.
Well, to a certain point, Tom he's in a butter, but so is the town of Norton. You know, we own land around it. We have some standing on the property. And I don't think we want to make any money on it, but we don't, you know, we want to put ourselves in a position where, let's say a grid goes on the top of that thing, you know, we say we're making money, now you've been an inconvenience to the town, and we want to get compensated for it.
Tom gets free electric.
So, I don't know.
I mean, you gotta think about that, it's getting right in my yard, and again, it's gonna be a nuisance to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you folks know.
We're not saying it's going to happen.
But I mean, you folks know, I mean, honestly, but you guys will know, you know what I've gone through.
Yeah.
You know, what I asked for, you know, variance to get into the woods, the driveway they got, how far it's punched in, the stuff I have with water, the whole 9 yards, you know where I'm at.
Yep.
Would you love to live there?
We get it.
All right, I mean, I don't wanna move, I really don't wanna move, but I have the feeling, because I don't trust, anything with the government touches usually screws it up. I hate to say it, but some of you gotta say it, it's the elephant in the room. Usually when the government touches something, they screw it up. I have a feeling, not to throw it at you, but the contractors you got coming in here, they're gonna make money. They don't give a fat rat's ass about me. You know what I'm saying? They're coming in here to make money. They're gonna leave me with a pile of trash.
We all know that. We all know that. We understand that.
that's not really something we should.
The only
nobody's
comment
gonna
I'd
do it
say
for
is that-
free, you know?
Yeah.
The last project we did is the City of Fall Rivers project. And that was a closure that worked well. Different parties, not quite the same project, same policy. You have, I mean, you could look and talk to the city, or you can look at our projects and see what happens. But Marion had success, Stoughton had success. There are successful projects where everyone, in the end, the project ended and the municipalities ended up having some benefit out of that project, including limiting liability.
Municipalities have a benefit out of it. I'm just an egg. What benefit do I get out of it? Not all of it.
Tom, we get it. We get it. The,
We can
Peter, you have
minimize the
something?
impacts of the project on you.
I have this article from the Trump Gazette from Monday, November 3rd, 1975, and it was, the Board of Selectmen will ask the town council to review for a decision and judge against the use of a Union Road as an access to the Charlie Phone Rent Fund hillside in Attleboro.
yeah, that's been the long-going, long-standing program that we've been trying to deal with. Unfortunately, we got SPAC taken care of. I wish we'd got that one, that big monkey out of the room, but appreciate you coming. You know, please let us know when that 21-day period is, you know, comes into play, so we can
We will get the,
follow up.
when,
Oh, my gosh.
everything will be on our webpage. We will send emails out. Board of Health, every decision that the solid waste section issues because of site assignment, we CC the Board of Health on every document we issue.
I really appreciate it, Mrs. Dakers. Thanks for coming in. Serrano, thank you for coming, taking your time. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the update. Okay, next on the agenda, we have a request of Jennifer Colino, Conservation Agent, to declare the house at 79 North Worcester Street, house only, surplus, so the DPW superintendent can put it on municipal bid.
Second.
Should we establish a minimum amount, or should we just go for it? Because I mean, I guess I don't want to give it away, but I guess if we give it away, it's a good thing too. So,
Well, they have to pay a buyer's fee of 8% on top of what they pay for it too,
do they?
so.
Yeah. And it's a modular home, which means it may be easier to move than most, but that makes it more valuable, right? Sometimes.
I don't know what the cost is to
I have no idea.
move a house.
I have no idea. Okay, anyway. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're unanimous on that. Let's see, we're going to vote to authorize the town manager, Michael D. Eunice, to sign a contract with Dandel Construction Incorporated for the Charlie Dam repair. Is that why the water's so low over there? Yeah.
Yes.
It's
They
not
must
the
see it.
roundabout that everybody's talking about. It's not to fill in into Charlie Pond like everybody's talking
Yeah,
about.
the suspicions.
Oh, so I did clarify that on there. People did appreciate it.
So tell us about what we're doing over there,
It
Mike.
was a good
4
one.
months.
They're gonna do repairs to the dam, that's why they've lowered it. You know, we've been temporary patching a sinkhole and filling a sinkhole over there the last few years. So this will be work to fix the dam. And the low bidder was Dandel Construction, Inc. at $118,735. And I think I provided you with the contract and also the breakdown of the prices. The engineers have reviewed the company, done background checks and work they've done before, and they feel confident that they can complete the work with the price they've given us.
We have the money appropriated already?
Yes.
How much did we appropriate?
I don't.
Okay. We have
At least that.
$118,000. I guess that's all you're concerned about, right?
That we authorize town manager Michael D. Eunice to sign a contract with Dandel Construction Incorporated for Charlie Dam repairs.
Second.
A motion and a second. And the water will come back up once we do the repairs. What about the water, the treatment of the plants? Is that something that's going to be jeopardized by the low water? Or
If anything, it'll probably help it.
probably help it? Yeah.
And that's for the addition on Sportsman's too. Sorry.
Was that, did you just make that one up? or
No, that was
you heard?
publicized. No,
No,
that's a
I-
public record.
Okay.
Anyway, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Okay, here's the banner. This is a request from Edward J. Brault for permission to hang the banner across
the
Route
wrong
123 East Main Street in front of the Municipal Center announcing the Memorial Day Parade. I know I spoke to him, and he was having, someone was donating the banner. Just a couple poles out front here that we use for that purpose. Getting back to your point, I have no idea where the Founder's Day banner went to.
It's around somewhere.
It must be here someplace.
No, we're giving it.
Chair will entertain a motion to support the request of Edward J. Brault for permission to hang the Memorial Day Parade on East Main Street.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, review and vote on town meeting and special town meeting articles. Mr. Units.
All right.
Find it with all your notes you're taking over?
I know, well, that's what
You're doing a great job as secretary.
So let's see, if we deal with the special first, I'll let you know what the Finance Committee voted. There's 4 articles that you haven't taken action on yet. Unpaid prior year's bills, the recommendation on that is no action. The Finance Committee did vote no action.
Chair will entertain a motion to
Take no action.
take no action on number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
The next article, under Article 2 of the special retirement expense, the Finance Committee voted to recommend $7,900 come from free cash to cover the retirement expense. This is one person that retired this year.
Questions? Chair will entertain a motion to support Article 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Mr. Units?
And the next article is operating budget supplements. The Finance Committee has voted to recommend $425,775 come from free cash. This is $134,400 for our snow removal for this year, and $291,375 for out-of-district tuition in the school department.
Where's that coming from?
Free cash.
Free cash?
That's for special education?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Chair will entertain a motion to support Article number 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
And Article 8 is the West Main Street Sewer Project. The Finance Committee did vote to recommend $880,000. And since we last met, the Sewer Department did receive a letter from DHCD offering more money for the project. And so also, one of the things I wanted to bring up tonight, one of the other ways that rather than use tax money, as we talked about at the last meeting, they believe that with the additional money that's coming from DHCD, they would still be short. And one of the ideas that I'd like to throw out, see if the committee is in, the board's in favor of, we get the APN, the annual payment to Norton every year. It started out at $200,000, and the Water and Sewer Commissioners came to you at one point, and you agreed to give them that $200,000 a year. Now, each year, the payment goes up $10,000, and so starting next year, it'll be $230,000, and then it will continue to go up $10,000 for 20 years, and then it's Consumer Price Index. So if we were to take that $30,000 we get every year from the sewer, Mansfield, Foxborough, Norton Sewer District, the MFN, and use that towards the payments on this loan, then it would be able to work.
But the $230,000 is going to who now?
The $200,000, you agreed to give that to the Water and Sewer Department. The remainder of the money comes to the town.
I see.
So you would use that 30,000.
I still don't understand why they don't take it out of the
Well, I agree.
surplus account.
We had that conversation, like $1.7 million or something.
Yeah, I mean, it, actually, I think the sewer is 900,000. But 5% of their budget, we figured out, was around $75,000. So they could easily take a couple $100,000 out and still be 10 times
Funded.
what they should have.
Yeah.
I think we had that conversation.
I think that money can only be voted on at town meeting, can be taken out of the surplus account.
Have to
Right?
vote on this.
It has, I think the taxpayers have to vote to take that out of there.
I remember having a very long conversation about the APM. $200,000. They felt it was theirs, we felt it was ours. You know, we were giving up the tax revenues and all this stuff on the property, and we thought the town should benefit from that. I must have been sleeping that night. I remember giving him permission to take it, but I guess we did. And then anything we generate above the 200,000 comes to us.
And now they want it back.
So this $30,000 that they want to take from us, is that like 1 year, or is that for forever?
Forever.
Make the
Well,
payment.
Forever, for 20 years until the note is paid off.
What'd they
So-
do with the 200,000?
The 200,000 goes towards sewer to, so that they don't have to raise people's rates as
If you
much.
take the additional $30,000 a year times 20, that's $600,000, right?
They just shot 450.
What are we paying? Yeah, they didn't have that much of a shortage to begin with.
450, I thought.
450, yeah.
They're making money on us.
Yeah, but I thought,
It goes up $10, 100,000 each year though, right? So next year would be.
10 grand.
I mean, 10,000.
Yeah.
So next year would be 40,000. So now we're giving them 230 and we're taking the extra 10? Is that how it works?
We take the extra 10 every year. They don't get any more, no.
I think their accounting is screwed up.
Always has been. Getting back to the original point that I think we all made, why don't they just ask for a transfer from their reserve account and keep this thing clean? I mean, it's just like, first of all, I'm not giving them $600,000 over a 20-year period to pay 400, I mean, pay $450,000, come on.
Good deal for them, didn't he?
Well, they got the money from the
Yeah, it was,
state.
yeah.
So
I
it's not
mean,
even that much.
you know, if they said, give me the $30,000 for 10 years, 300 grand, oh, okay, I can kind of get that, but, you know,
Math doesn't make sense.
I don't know why we're having these conversations, Mrs. Steele.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you. It's an enterprise account. I'm not sure why they're even coming back to us.
Exactly.
I mean, they get all the benefits of the enterprise account, and then they're looking for more. I mean, we've got enough problems with our budget this
Yeah, we
year.
have enough
but
strain.
I'm not sure, well, we can take a vote.
It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but $30,000 a year coming back to the town is a lot of money.
Over the
For the
course of
next
what they're
20 years,
asking,
that's
it's more than
600
they
grand
need.
that we can spend for other things that maybe are important to us. I will support the article, Mike, if you want to go back to them, but they're going to have to come up with their own transfer from their reserve account. I'm not going to support this. Not based on 30,000 for 20 years.
So is this gonna be another article at town meeting, it's gonna get beat to death and not have sewer go forward?
Well, Finance Committee's
Well, no,
recommending it.
they can move the article.
Right.
Instead of taking the $30,000 from us, they can take it from their
Reserve account.
reserve account. Just the way the motion is put on the floor. Got nothing to do with, I agree, I don't want to stop.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking hypothetically, but what I've been hearing, and that's all I just brought that up.
Well, if FinCom recommended it, and should we take a vote that doesn't recommend it, then it'll be up to town meeting to decide which way they want to go with it, but.
Yeah.
um,
Well, the problem is, we recommended it, but it's our money. It's not, you know, I mean, it's, whatever. Wearing me down tonight.
Well, they can come and explain to you Monday night.
Okay. Have them come and explain it to us.
All right, that takes care of the special.
You want to take a vote on it?
Probably should, huh? Or you wanna wait till Monday?
No, we can do it Monday night.
We can wait till Monday.
That meeting.
What time do you have to be there?
6.
6.
5:30 with them.
6-ish? 6-ish or
7 o'clock.
6.
6-ish?
6.
6-ish?
6.
Don't forget, I've got that 15-minute wiggle room either side of 6.
2-week grace period.
All right.
I think we're funny.
So on the annual, just on the budget itself, I showed you that we did post information on the town website.
And by the way, I didn't want to give them the $200,000 to begin with.
You're so- That's going to keep you up tonight.
We did post information on the town website for the town budget, and some of this information we will have as slides at the town meeting.
Okay.
The pie chart that shows where the money goes, we'll have that. And as far as, you know, a lot of talk out there about the school budget. Obviously, the Finance Committee worked really hard this year on the budget to do what they could. I appreciate the work that they put into it. All they have is to work with is within 2.5, you know, and they have to go with the revenue they had. The voters said they didn't want an override, so we have to work with that. And with that, you know, they were able to provide the schools with a 2.8% increase, and the town a 1.7 or 8% increase, and the library 2.5% increase. And the increase for the schools, though obviously not what they want, the last 3 years, they've really done well, and this, since 2008, what their increase they have this year, there are only 3 other years that they didn't, that were higher than this increase. And if you go back to 2008, there was no 600,000 school choice revenue available, which is available now. And the student population has dropped 537 students since 2008. So it's not, to me, it shouldn't be as devastating as I think it's been played out to be. So hopefully, today we just received some information, the Senate's still working on their numbers. So hopefully the town meeting members will go along with the recommendations of the people that have spent 6 months reviewing budgets and know the budgets inside and out, and will not make any amendments to the budget on the town meeting floor. Can wait until the fall when we know what the state numbers are, and we know if there is any money available to go any further. But right now, we're required to pass a balanced budget, and any movement to take money out of someone's budget is going to affect another budget, and it's just not fair to the people that have worked on this for 6 months, you know, scrutinizing everything, and I hope that's the way it goes.
I've been at most of these meetings myself. I've been listening in on them. And I got to tell you, I congratulate the town manager, school superintendent, and the FinCom for, we have to put together a balanced budget. We have no choice. And what people have to understand is this free cash thing that kind of floats around in the sky. We do that every year. We have free cash at some point. Problem is, you spend it now, you don't have it later. And I made a point the other night, a perfect example is the new windows for the schools. I totally support the article. I think it's necessary. I get it. But that $400,000 a year starting in 2022 is coming right off the top. That's a long-term debt that we are now going to pay. So when people think you can just come up and randomly just select a number and throw it out there and say, well, I want this additional money for an account, it has to come from somewhere. We balanced this year's budget by taking out, we, being the selectmen, took out manager, took out all overtime, police, fire, and communication, just so we could balance the budget to give the schools and the town what they need to fund their departments. More so for the schools, because in the fall, we can come back and we can say, okay, we now have free cash, that magic number that comes out of nowhere, and we're going to use that for overtime. The reason we do that is so we don't have to lay off as many people from the school side, who have to, by contractual agreement, notify people that they're going to lay people off by a certain point, middle of June sometime. They have to notify them. So instead of us saying, well, we're going to lay off 15 people, we're not doing that. We're cutting back, we're pulling back on our side. Our increase at 1.7% is not a true number, because we've taken all of our overtime accounts out, and we can't run those departments without the overtime accounts.
Not all of them, but
No.
part of it, part of the overtime.
Yeah, you just can't do it. So I hope everyone behaves themselves, because when you start pitting one department against another, and that's what happens, no one wins. It gets to be stormy. We've been there. I can remember being on the Finance Committee back in '88, where the town manager and the Board of Selectmen went to town meeting with their budget, and the FinCom went to town meeting with their budget. They were entirely different. First 3 articles, the selectmen proposed different numbers on all 3 of them. By the 3rd article, they just said, this isn't working, and they backed off, and they let the Finance Committee, put through their budget. So, and I tell you, it caused a rift that lasted for a while, between various departments, because some were being taken advantage of over others. So, we need to think long and hard. Anytime we're going to spend money from available cash or free cash, I'm telling you, you gotta understand that next year, you're not gonna have that money to spend. And this year's looking bad, we all knew it. You know, some of us supported the last attempt for an override, we get it. But it's looking bad this year, and if we spend everything we have this year, next year's gonna be worse.
Yeah.
So we've gotta get real here and start realizing we only have so much money to spend, and we have to stay within the guidelines.
Well, if you look at it, if we went for that override last year and it passed, we'd be looking at another override right this year, because there wouldn't be enough money in there to cover what we're asking for anyways.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, you can't go for an override year after year after year. if
Well, no,
it
people,
passes.
there's no taste for it anymore.
No, absolutely not. No.
We get it.
Okay.
All right.
Article 3 on the annual warrant is retirement expense, and there's recommended by the Finance Committee no action on that at this time.
Chair would entertain no action on Article 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Article 4, the Finance Committee recommended to support the article for the Route 123 corridor improvements with $70,000 coming from free cash. This would be used to hire an appraiser and to pay people that may not donate. We're hoping that we'll be able to receive donations for any of the permanent easements and takings, but we don't know that yet, so.
This is between the hump on East Main Street and 495.
Well,
For the
it's,
most part?
this is for the Pine Street all the way
Yeah, but
over the hump. For the most part, there's plenty of room.
most of it, yeah. Most of it be over the hump.
It gets narrow once you get over the hump, but we're not gonna have, other than a couple of properties, any major land takings. Everything's gonna be built within the layout itself, but there may be some easement takings.
Questions? Chair, entertain a motion to support Article 4,
$70,000.
$70,000, up to $70,000.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Article 5 is a feasibility study for the town hall, and Article 6 is feasibility study for council on aging. As you know, we had at a previous town meeting, $1.5 million set into an account to be used for architectural design, engineering, and construction of a town hall or senior center. And at the town meeting, there was a motion to make us go back as we go through different phases of the projects. And so these articles are to hire a company to do feasibility studies. RFQs went out. I know the question from one of the Finance Committee members was, well, why are we doing a feasibility study if we don't exactly know where we're going to build it? And that's why we're doing the feasibility study. In the RFQ, it actually says we can present the company 3 possible locations that they will have to analyze to determine where it's feasible for a building to go. It's not, this is not design, it's a feasibility study. They'll do conceptual layouts of what a building should look like, how much room you should have,
Parking spaces.
things like that. And then they'll look at different locations that we propose. And so the first one for the town hall is $135,000, and this would also cover engineering, as that article stipulated, so that we can have our environmental engineers analyze, for example, the Elm Street property, any results that DEP and EPA come up with on that property to see if it's worth developing.
So this isn't, the $1.5 million that was appropriated at town meeting was a commitment on the town to look into building these 2 facilities. This isn't the first time we're talking about this. This is taking the money that we already put aside to do what we want to do. So, I mean, at first, I wasn't sure if I was going to, how I felt about it, to be honest with you. But now I understand what the concept is. I don't know. I can stand in and say, well, we need a COA building that'll handle 100 people. What do I know? You know, this is going to give me information about, this is what you're going to need for a COA building. This is what you're going to need for parking spaces. This is what you're going to need for maybe an open room area concept. I mean, I don't know that stuff. And that's what this money was set aside. This $1.5 million came from permits and fees that were generated by Allium.
One time.
One-time fee. I can never say that. One-time fee that this board and town manager worked their butts off to get. And I'm hearing some rumors out there that some people were saying, well, we should dibble into that $1.5 million. That's money we earned, and we felt, and town meeting felt, it was important to look at these two programs. You know, we're not going back to school committee and saying, hey, you're getting 600 grand this year for school choice, we want half. We're not doing that. We get it. I understand why they use that money for whatever purpose they want to use it for. So I hope there isn't some kind of an attempt to tap into this account at town meeting floor, because it was already approved at town meeting to begin with, and we're just doing what town meeting wanted us to do and going back and saying, okay, this is how we're going to spend the money. Mike?
Would they be able to would someone be able to try to tap it for any other purpose, or was it was set aside for a specific purpose?
Vote on it, take it out.
All you need is an account number,
Yeah.
right? If you have the account number, I want to transfer such and such from this account to that account.
You
I
do
know
that-
there was a
you do
time-
that in any line item.
No, I know. I thought because this was held for a separate, I thought it was completely earmarked.
Well, it is, and usually the committee or board that's under the direction of, used to have to make a recommendation. That's how it used to be. Where if I wanted to give you 100 grand, as long as I agreed to it, that was fine, but you can't just come take my money. That's the way it used to be. I don't know if it still is anymore. But it was earmarked at a town meeting to be set aside for that purpose.
Pay the attorneys for.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
So the first Article 5 is for 135,000.
move me along.
What's that?
I think he's moved me along.
And it was recommended by the Finance Committee at that amount, to come from that article.
I move that we support Article 5 for $135,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Mrs.
Sorry.
Steele?
How long is the feasibility study good for?
I mean, it would be good for, I don't know why it wouldn't, it might need some tweaking but for the most part,
That's a good question.
I think it
you
only
gotta figure
changed-
it's gonna be good for at least a couple of years.
So I guess, just for discussion.
Get older, you want to join?
Yeah, I'm almost there. So I think I'm going to vote against this, and I want to tell you guys why I'm going to vote against it. I understand the reason for a feasibility study. Absolutely. And I'm for having a feasibility study. What I don't see is, and I know that we have to do the feasibility study in order to figure out how much money we need to build these buildings. I get that, but I don't see us having the money to build these buildings. So $135,000 is a lot to spend if it's only good for 2 years.
Well, I would hope that when it comes to that point, that these buildings would be built the same way that the high school was done. I would imagine it may need a debt exclusion, and I would hope that people saw the need for a debt exclusion for a high school. I would hope, if necessary, if we need a debt exclusion at the time, that they would support a debt exclusion for the buildings. I mean, we don't know what the costs are yet, so obviously you don't know if you need a debt exclusion. And I would imagine when money was appropriated for a feasibility study for the high school, you didn't know whether you needed a debt exclusion or not. But people voted for the feasibility study. Same with the windows. Last year, they voted $200,000 to do a feasibility study on the windows without even knowing if you were going to move forward on the windows or not. So, I mean, it's just the way things are done.
And I think, taking into account, like the baby boomers, when you're building when you have a study done, they're not gonna just say, well, from 2 years from now, we're gonna have to have an extra 20 spots. I mean, you're gonna look at I would assume you're gonna look into the future and say, well, the population, baby boomer population is gonna increase by 5%, and continue to build on that. I can't tell you what that is, and I'm not sure anybody can. That's part of what they're trying to do here, is to come up with an action plan on what it's gonna be, what's gonna look like, maybe to a certain extent, but more importantly, it's gonna be a process, because we're gonna come back and say, well, we think we should have a grand room where everybody can meet if they wanna meet. We should have a emergency center with generators so that if we lose our power, everybody knows where they can go, no matter what. They know what building they can go to in town. We don't have that now. We could ask for certain things, but, we can't, and Mike's right, we do feasibility studies for Tom. He goes out and with these things all the time, but we don't know what we need until we do the study. And like Mike said, we didn't know that for the high school. We didn't know it when we did the middle school. We didn't know it when we did any of the other buildings in town.
And there's no other way you can proceed. If you don't do the feasibility study first, how do you know how you're paying for it? Because you don't know how much money you need to pay for it. But,
So with that comes cost estimates and all the stuff that we need.
I mean, and to go down to Article 7, I would imagine that $8,476,971, you could probably build a town hall for $12 million, but we're doing windows. I mean, so at some point, you got to face the fact this can't last. It's just, it's unprofessional. It's an embarrassment to the town. And
we still have the original carpeting up here that we had when we opened the town hall.
Whatever it takes, but
Yep, same stuff.
I think it's unsafe.
I agree with you.
All right, so that's the good part about having discussion. Go ahead with the vote.
And I know Shane and I are gonna get together and do a walkthrough with a camera to show people what this place really looks like. 'Cause I don't know, nobody ever goes downstairs but me, because I got stuff down there, but I gotta tell you, it's scary down there. It's like the Twilight Zone. So, all right, anyway. Chair, entertain a motion to support
We do have a
Article.
motion and a second. Sorry, just keep me.
who made the motion?
I second, yep. Trying to keep it easy for you, Mike.
I know, good, keep
Yeah,
that up.
Keep me straight here, too. We're talking about Article 5, right?
Yep.
Okay. We have motion second. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did you raise your hand or no?
Oh, I did, I said
Okay,
aye.
thank you, Mary. That's unanimous.
Um,
Article 6, same thing.
This
I
is,
move that we support Article 6, feasibility study on the Council on Aging for $65,000.
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Article 7, this is for,
Gonna cost you $400,000 a year.
this is for the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program to provide
Provide.
windows at 3 of the elementary schools, the Norse, the Salmonese, and the Yell. The cost at the LG Norse will be $2,152,492. At the Salmonese, $2,423,175,000. And at the Yell, $3,901,304,000. So $8,476,971. And when I did mention to the Finance Committee that based on a 55% MSBA reimbursement that they're looking at right now, our financial advisors did a estimate on a $4 million loan to cover our half of the project. And so in 2022, the payment from the town that year will be $420,000. And the Finance Committee said, well, what about if this was done as a debt exclusion? And I know the superintendent had said that if we have to do this as a debt exclusion, then wait however many days in order to get a vote at the ballot box on this. It would be too late for the MSBA. And the Finance Committee said, well, when we do the final borrowing, can we then do it as a debt exclusion? Well, you can, but by voting this article, you're authorizing borrowing, so it doesn't have to be a debt exclusion. Yeah.
I
And,
know the question was asked, and
yeah.
you got your answer.
And I did mention, if this is the way that people want to go, in 2022, I don't want people coming to me wondering why there's not enough money for their budget, because we have to pay $420,000 that year on this project. And, I spoke earlier about the decline in enrollment. I'm not going to get into it too much, but are we going to put new windows in 3 schools and have a note that we're paying off over 20 years and then have to close one of the schools in 5 years because there's not enough students in that school? So,
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I say about this $8 million and all these schools, I mean, what happened 3 years ago? What happened 4 years ago where we didn't know that but one of these particular schools needed windows? All of a sudden, now we're doing all the schools together. I think preventive maintenance goes a long way over no matter what you do, your own house or your own business. I mean, I just think it's unfortunate that, it all has to happen together. I don't know why, because, it would have been cheaper if you did it one school 4 years ago and another school today. It wouldn't have looked so bad on your payments. But, one lump sum of $8 million, I mean, that's huge money.
I think it was the matching funds. I think they took advantage of,
Yeah. Yeah.
that match, and I'm not sure if that was available a couple of years ago. I really don't know, but I think they did their feasibility study, and they determined that, they needed to do this. I mean, I remember the Yale getting new windows, and I haven't heard anything more about it, but in my time, the Yale school has had new windows put in. I don't know, not that many years ago. I'm not saying this isn't necessary, but I believe we have to maintain the buildings we have.
Yeah.
We have a couple of them, Town Hall and COA, that are totally in disrepair because now we're spending another $8 million here. We've got to refocus some of our energy toward improving some other town buildings. This board has always been very supportive of anything that the schools have asked for, and we're asking the same now on the Town Hall and the COA. We need help. We need new buildings. These things are disgusting. We've got a COA building down there that started off, I believe, as a schoolhouse, converted into a fire station, and it's too small.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody can get in there and do anything. Parking is like unheard of. So, we continue to support the schools, and I agree with this. We need to do it. We have to upkeep our buildings, no more than we have to upkeep our own homes. It's a cost. I get it. But when your house is falling down, you have to either fix it or rebuild it. And we're at a point now we need to rebuild. We have to build a new one. It's just not going to work anymore.
I would bet the $4 million for the windows on the Yale School are more than it's going to cost you to build a new senior center.
COA, yeah. Yep. Mr. Brownwell.
Can, Mr. Units, if we spend the money and replace the windows in all the schools, if a school closes, how long does the school have to stay open before we would have to repay the money for the windows?
I don't know what the answer is to if it just closes and sits there. We're still paying the note back.
I'm concerned
If we use
about-
it, if before the 20 years is up, we use the school building for anything but a school, we gotta pay the MSBA back the
Their
money
portion.
that they
Their
gave
portion.
us for that school.
Yeah.
Their portion. Not our portion, their portion.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, we're on the hook for
Our portion anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Any other questions about 7? Seeing none, the chair intended motion to support Article 7.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Go ahead.
I have a concern about declining enrollment and the fact that one of these three schools may not be a school for an entire 20 more years.
Agreed.
And that compounds my concern about the fact that if we take another $400,000 a year out of the budget, how are we going to maintain level services when we can't do it now? I'm afraid of spending more money when people aren't happy with what they're getting now. And if we were to take $400,000 and take 70% of that, that would put the school department in a deeper hole. And not to mention, I mean, we're scraping by cutting out just about all of our overtime in essential departments. I just don't know, I mean, I definitely think it should be done, but I'm concerned financially about, can we afford to do it?
See, and I think it may take another action at town meeting. Now, the 55% carrot is a big deal when you think about it, if you're getting it for half price. It's almost like those commercials you watch on TV, you know, but there's more, you know. In
Yeah.
other words, you get two for the price of one. But this is kind of the same idea. But again, I feel obligated. I try to take care of my own home. And to me, these buildings are all part of our own homes and try to take care of them. I'm as torn as you are on it, believe me, because I totally get what you're saying about it. But I'm hoping what may happen is, again, it may take a town meeting article to do it, but that we appropriate through a debt exclusion money for a town hall and a COA, and then we come back and say, and whatever balance is left on this window project, that we incorporate that into that bond for 20 years and try to, you know, get all three into one ball, you know, see if it works. We don't have time to go for a debt exclusion. That's not going to happen. They're going to lose that 55%. I'm kind of leaning toward the side that, you know what, let's give it to them and let's see what goes on with the COA and the town hall. And if we can get it all under one umbrella at that point, maybe we try to figure out a way to clean it up and take it back out from underneath 2.5. So we're not spending $420,000 in 2022. You know, maybe we come up with a different plan. But,
Either that or pick two, any two.
yeah, or that too.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and if we close the school and it's not used as a school and we have to repay the MSBA, could we add that to a debt exclusion as well?
Don't know.
Well, you can, anytime you borrow, if you want it to be a debt exclusion, you can go through the process and see if people support that.
Yeah.
But to a point that Bob made, you know, maybe the problem is you don't get to 55%. That's what the carrot is. If we could pick one school this year and a couple of years later pick another school and a couple of years later pick another, we're not in that position. So, you know, grudgingly, I'm going to support this because I think it's the right thing to do. But in the back of my mind, I'm hearing from the school side of the business that, well, we can't support you now on a town hall or COA building. We don't have the money, but we can't afford to pay this either. So we've got to all get together and figure out our priorities, figure out how we can make it all happen. That's why I'll vote for this, because I'm going to be optimistic that when the time comes and we need a COA in the town hall, the people on the school side of the budget will understand that we need to do that. And we'll see what happens. Mrs. Steele.
Mr. Chairman, I think with some of the discussions that we've had with some of the members, they are on the same page with us on that. You know what, I think that Brad makes a really good point, and I hadn't really thought about it the way Brad had. But then I like your point, too, about moving it all into debt exclusion later. So to Brad's point, if we close the school, right, the odds are we're not going to use it for another purpose. The LG, the Solomons are, yeah, right? But what if we don't close the school? We still have this window problem, right? we're not replacing windows that don't need to be replaced. They all need to be replaced, right? The feasibility study was done. So if we don't close the school, we still have this problem that we've given up the 55% on, right? So I totally agree with you, but I guess I kind of agree with, let's move forward. I think my vote will be to move forward with it and hope that when we go for debt exclusion, we can roll this into it to get rid of the 425,000.
And I completely understand. I want to vote for it. I'm very concerned,
Yeah.
very
Throwing
hesitant.
good money
Make a good
away.
point.
Exactly, I mean,
Throw good money away a couple of years down the road.
if we're having this much trouble now, what's going to happen when we take another $400,000 out of the mix?
And what's the cost to us if we don't do it? If we don't close this?
I think one of the FinCom members made a very good point tonight. She said, if we don't do it and we close the school, 10 years from now, we need to build a new school. It'd be probably be cheaper for us to build a new school than to repair the ones we already have, you know? I mean, it just kind of makes sense. But again, we have an obligation to take care of our buildings. We haven't done it here. We've been we've been real slumlords on this building, I gotta tell you. We haven't done a good job with this one at all. But, you know, we do make it, the school's a priority because our kids go there, and I get that. You know, they gotta be safe, I get that. So,
I mean, the other option is if you don't do it, then you do so much, you're not gonna get the 55%, but you do so many windows a year within your budget to get it done, like you would do at your house.
Whose budget?
Whatever. Yeah, I don't think whatever.
Well,
budget?
it would
Our
come out of
budget?
capital,
Oh, yeah, sure.
and, I mean, because right now, you do them all at once, then you're gonna be replacing them all at once. Another time,
true.
like
I gotta tell you something,
said, why
that Yale
do
school-
one school and then do another one a few years later, and another one a few years later?
That Yale School does not, I haven't heard anybody bring it up, but I know I've watched windows be replaced in that Yale School.
Oh, I know they have.
I know, but they didn't, in the paper, they were talking about it, today's paper. And they never mentioned any new windows in the Yale School, and it wasn't that long ago. That we put windows on that building. Maybe they weren't, I don't know, maybe they-
Would the feasibility study have addressed that?
it wasn't addressed in the paper. They mentioned other schools and repair.
I think what it is technology with the insulating factors of windows has advanced over the past probably 10 years. And so the windows that were sold probably 10 years ago probably have half the R value that the new windows have.
Plus today, I think they're shatterproof and they're doing different things now. Entrance ways, I get, you know, the stuff we have to do. You know, I get it.
Shrink wrap's cheaper.
Yeah, you suffocate under that, though. All right, anyway, what motion was this one? This was for Article number 7. I'll entertain a motion to support Article 7.
We already have it.
We already have it.
Mary moved.
Mary moved it.
Mike seconded.
Mike seconded it. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Reluctantly, yes.
Oh, come on, Brad.
Well, I mean,
I might have gone with you.
I'm not gonna,
I know, I totally get it. Okay,
it's not, like I said, it's not that I don't want to do it.
I know.
It's just that,
It's throwing good money away if you don't have to. That's what it's gonna amount to.
The well's
Where it could be
nearly
used, where
dry.
it could be used in.
you're throwing good money away if you don't have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean, yeah.
Okay. What else you got, Mike?
Article 8, Water Enterprise Budget, $3,308,336 is recommended by the Finance Committee.
And I did ask for that information, and Mike did get back to me on it. Fiscal year 11, water and sewer was $3,151,000. Fiscal 19, water and sewer,
No, that's just water.
that's just water, there was no, we had sewer back then.
No.
Oh, that's right,
It wasn't
it
enterprise.
was an enterprise, okay. All right, so
So
let's
it wasn't just
go with
water.
13 then. 13 was 3,548,000, and sewer was 1,667. It's about the same.
Hmm.
I mean, the numbers I haven't moved that much, so, you know, it's
What the heck
pretty,
was he making such a big deal about it for?
I don't know. I don't know, but now that I see it, okay, it's fine. Anyway. After making a big deal about this, I would ask you to support Article number 8.
I move that we support Article number 8, Water Enterprise, fiscal year 19 budget for $3,308,336.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Okay. And
I move-
Article
I move
9,
that we support Article 9, the sewer enterprise account, fiscal year 19 budget for $1,546 and $1,546,269.
Second.
motion the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
And the last article is Article 26, and the Finance Committee moved no action on that at the recommendation of the
Okay.
superintendent.
Chair entertain a motion to have no action on Article 26.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
Motion the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Tom? Now, we are meeting Monday night at 6 o'clock. Right?
Yep.
And it looks like we're going to have one subject we're going to have to talk about. So people are going to have to be there so we can talk about it.
First meeting 6 p.m. for
I think so.
the town meeting 7 p.m.
Yeah, yeah, we're going to meet at 6. All right, town manager's report. One of the longest meetings we have in a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Go another couple hours.
I remember 11 o'clock, 11:30, some of the meetings.
Couple more hours, you can go to Bickford's like we used to go to have breakfast.
Just to let you know that the town clerk has met with Wade and the staff at the school department to get the the gym set up.
Which is,
Yeah, they only have 120 chairs.
they got more chairs than that. We scrounged up that night
Yeah.
300 or 400 chairs out of other rooms. They,
I mean, if they're only
We
going to
gotta
set that
be-
many chairs, why do we
had a
use the auditorium?
They've got the stands, so there's fits 1,200 people with the stands.
Yeah, most of the.
everybody bring your own
older
chair.
Yeah, most of the older population does not want to climb.
No, they don't.
Bleachers,
No, they don't.
me included.
I would ask, Mike, that you go back and ask them to find other chairs that they can use. Wheaton College can't help us this time, but, they at one point offered. The Xfinity Center at one time offered us chairs if we needed them.
Should just have it there.
They can't afford to do it. It was in a different town, that's why.
Too bad we could. I know that.
But, it's,
How about they move from the other schools?
they've got them in the same building. We took them out of the cafeteria, we took them out of the library.
Can we just get a rope and tie it from the Xfinity Center and draw it over to the line?
Yeah,
It's just connected, right?
yeah, pretty much. Anyway, we need more than 150 chairs, that's all I'm saying.
And I know that you had some discussion about street signs on South Worcester Street, and the police chief went out, had the safety officer go out, and came up with some ideas on where he thinks signs should be, so we'll have Keith work with him.
So that's speed signs, it's also truck signs?
Yeah. And I did have someone come to me about Senate Bill 2381 on taxing short-term rentals, and it's still in committee, and it hasn't, it's not in effect yet. And I hear from our state rep that they're pretty far apart in committee, so he's not sure how quickly that's going to move along.
Anything else?
Nope.
Nothing under appointment and resignations, retirements, selectmen's report and mail.
I just have one comment. Actually, two. I have two things. Last week, Keith had Union Road paved, which they did a phenomenal job with that. There was an article somehow got to Norton Patch that a paving company opened up a hydrant in that area, and it discolored the water so bad that they had to work in deep into the night to get the system clean. So I asked Keith about it, and he said, "No," he said, we didn't open a hydrant. They bring their own water tanker." So the hydrant was not opened by our paving crew that was hired. Some misinformation got to Norton Patch, which, you know, it's always nice to hear good things and not bad things about what people do. So that's my first comment. My second comment is, if there's any chance we can ask the water commissioners to come in, talk about what their program is about cleaning pipes. There's been a lot of discussion on social media about when this new plant is up and running, they were informed that their faucet, they turn on, the next day they're gonna have clean water. And I informed several people that that's not true, even though I'm not a water commissioner. Sorry for speaking out of line, but common sense tells you that your pipes need to get cleaned before you can have clean water. So my theory is that I've been asked by the public to ask them, do they have any intentions to start cleaning pipes before the new system's up and running? And I think it's a great idea to show the people that have such dirty water that we're trying to do something in good faith to clean the pipes, to get a jump start on it before the plant opens.
We get them to come in, maybe our next meeting, see if somebody will come in.
That's all I have. Sorry, Bernie.
Can we have a commissioner come into the next meeting, too? Well, Bernie comes in here and
He takes the heat.
he takes the heat, but the commissioners are elected to do the job. Somebody should be here. I don't care if Bernie comes, but someone else should be here, too.
I'm not asking for miracles. I just think that, why wait till the new system's up and running and then clean the pipes, which we get, we
Yeah.
know the dirty sections in town that are really, really bad. You know, there isn't gonna be a lot of settlement going in there between now and, you know, the next 18 months.
Right.
Like they have been for the last 20 years, so. I just think it's a good idea.
Agreed.
It's not my money.
Mr.
It
Brennan?
is my money.
I didn't have anything, but follow up to what Bob said. The dirty water thing was actually on one of the Boston news stations. It was on the morning report. I think it was Channel 5.
Really?
Because I was kind of surprised.
Wow.
It woke me up when I heard that. But
This
other
year
than
has
that,
probably been the worst it's ever been.
It's been pretty
Yeah,
bad.
it's been tough this year.
Been tough this year.
Mrs. Steele?
Nothing.
Mr. Flaherty?
No, I'm all set.
I'm all set, too.
No rebuttal?
Okay,
Nope.
move this thing along.
Wonderful.
Warrants and minutes, report of Robert W. Kimball Jr. on the following payroll and invoice warrants. Entertain a motion to approve invoice warrant AP 44 dated May 3rd, 2018, in the amount of $304,938.34.
so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Entertain a motion to approve the biweekly payroll warrant PR 23 for the period ended May 5th, 2018, dated May 10th, 2018, in the amount of $1,267,456.26.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Make a motion to approve invoice warrant AP 45 dated May 10th, 2018, in the amount of $879,260.45.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second on AP 45. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Any minutes?
Nope.
You did a fine job of taking them tonight. You got quite a few pages there. Next meeting's agenda will actually be Monday before the town meeting to discuss any issues we have with the warrant. And then our next scheduled meeting here will be on Thursday, May 24th, 2018. Anyone has anything they want to bring before the board, just check with Mr., what's his name? Mr. Units.
Mr.
Mr. Units.
Jim.
I should just leave his picture out here so I can look down and say, what's this guy's name? Okay.
Before we adjourn, is there anything on the warrant got to do with the reservoir, the lakes, with boats or anything?
With what?
With boats?
No, I know what you're talking about.
Something got posted or something?
No,
What is it?
there are there are rules and regulations already out there, and I think someone wanted us to put up new signs to remind people of it.
Yeah.
But you know what? We should do that, but we probably, before we do that, we should probably have conservation take another look at them and make recommendations on what should be on the sign.
Yeah.
Before we go to the expense of putting one up, and then, because they're gonna tear it down anyway, but put one up and then see if we can, maybe change some of the rules before we.
They had a fire on Feeney Island last Saturday night, about midnight. Fire department spent 2 hours out there.
That's ridiculous.
Come back till like 2 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning.
Now, that's something I think we should probably talk about, and we should probably post these islands that if they're gonna have a fire, they probably need a permit. I don't know. If they build a fire and it's illegal, they should be fined $1,000, because it costs us money to get those people out there
Yeah.
to put these fires out. Feeney Island is like every other year it's on fire. But anyway, conservation should take a look at that.
Maybe the selectmen can take some money out of the budget and buy a Johnny boat so we can take a trip out there.
I can get you out there.
It's not gonna
I
bring
may
it
not
back.
bring you back. I can definitely get you out there.
Sorry.
All right, anyway.
3-hour
Yeah, we
cruise.
gotta go. It's past-
The motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Nope, you have to second.
Second.
I've already finished.
Oh.
We are adjourned, thank you. Thanks, Shane.